Tuesday. That'd be nice.
Right.
What's up, everyone? Eastern Outdoors Tuesday Night Live from all over the country. Got some guests here. I'm just going to stay on here till some we have people checking us out, and then I'm going to hop off and go try to catch a shark. So, uh, yeah. But Mike and Stacy and Kelly are going to be on here to talk food plots and deer hunting and the kick off the deer season event. Mike, I usually don't do this from my phone. I'm trying to find the comments here.
Yeah. Yeah. So far we've not on my end. I don't see any comments coming
Oh,
in, but
okay. Let us know where you're watching from, guys. I am on Tybee Island. The wind is blowing. We've caught 4 stingrays. We caught a big one while ago in a cast net, and we're going to use for shark bait. We've caught a blue crab in our cast net today. So it's been a good day. We're going to go try to catch some sharks later. And while we're doing that, Mike and Stacy and Kelly are going to be talking about. Well, that's why I'm so done.
Hey.
Mike and Stacy and Kelly are going to be talking about food plots and the deer event. So Brent is here.
hey,
Let's
Brent,
see.
bring some questions tonight, buddy, because we're going to be talking food plots, and we got some experts on tonight.
Yeah.
So it's going to help us out a lot. Stacy and I put in some food plots earlier in the spring and or early summer, and he had some great ideas for me. So bring some questions.
Hey, here's what I want to. I'm going to hop off here, but if you're watching, we'd really appreciate it if you would share this on your page. Usually, me and Josh will share it on ours, and we'll share it in some groups. But we are, both of us are. You can't see them. Both of us are sitting here on the beach right now. So if you guys could share it, we'd really appreciate it. Make sure this Saturday, I'm driving back from where we at Tybee Island on Friday. And then on Saturday, I'm driving to Plummer's Landing for the kickoff to deer event. So I hope that we see you there. Alan Morris says hello from Missouri. So share this on your page. Share our post about the deer event, and we hope to see you there. Gordy Mullins is on here. Mike, Stacy, Kelly, appreciate you guys doing this. Mike, I'll let you take over, and then I'll jump back on to turn it off at 10. Sound good?
Sounds good. Hey,
right.
go catch some fish.
Good luck with the sharks, man.
Hey, you will see it on Facebook if we get one.
Awesome.
We'll be sharing. All right, see you guys.
Good luck.
Hey, buddy. All right, now we got that fun stuff out of the way. So I appreciate you guys joining us, folks. We got Kelly Manning of Central Farm Supply, Kentucky, and an antler builder, and Stacy Weiss, experienced guide, hunting guide, and deer hunting guide, and also the antler builder, as I'm told, the antler builder land and wildlife management expert. And I've learned, from Stacy a lot already just in that time that we spent together earlier in the summer. This is a great opportunity to kind of talk about the deer event coming up on Saturday for Antler Builder down at Hinton Mills and Plummer's Landing, Kentucky, 8 to 12 noon. I hope everyone can come down and join, get you some Antler Builder. Fellas, the feed ban's lifted as of today, so we can get some feed out there for the deer as deer season. We're a month away. Kind of crazy, but I'm hoping that the viewers here tonight that are able to join us, and we got folks coming in. Jeff, appreciate you joining us, and Jimmy, hello, buddy. Jimmy Carroll, he comes in and shares life with us pretty much every Tuesday night. We appreciate him coming, and a lot of other fellows that come in and watch our show weekly. We just appreciate you and just join us in life. We all go through life together, and it's kind of fun to enjoy these moments of talking things that we all love and share. Hey, James, how's it going, buddy? Property in Casey County. Awesome, Jimmy. So Kelly, if you would kick us off, the deer event and kind of what has inspired that deer event, and then, your relationship with Hinton Mills and getting Antler Builder started.
Yeah, Mike, I appreciate you having us on again. It's always good to share some time with you guys and your followers, and this is a group effort that we started with some friends back a couple of years ago that we just sitting around and from Brent Williams from Berkman Mills and Adam Hinton from Hinton Mills. And, we were just talking about different things that are going on out in the world with deer products. And, we just decided that, hey, you guys do this and you guys do that. And we feel that we do a pretty good job of what we have done. And we just put this product line together, and it's been really exciting. It's just a fun group of guys from Kentucky that have expertise in nutrition and food plots and minerals and expertise in each area. And we really look at it from a nutritional standpoint from the animals, and just put this full product line together. It's just been a good deal.
That's awesome. Stacy, just to kind of backtrack, in early June when we got together, we put out some minerals, and you saw the sites that we had on our place, on our farm in particular in Grant County. We're seeing, I don't know how much have you've seen, and I need to pass the pictures on to you. My uncle pulled the camera for the first time that I put on that mineral site right up there in the corner of the woods that you saw. You and I took pictures. It had kind of gone a little bit dormant since I last put stuff out. And I can assure you and specifically, we're getting bucks. We are honestly getting more bucks at that mineral site than we are does and fawns. Kind of crazy enough. We have some fawns and does showing up, but we've got a couple of nice bucks showing up at the spot. So I mean, it's something that you and I looked at. We put it there together. Just with your experience and your expertise as far as putting that stuff out on your place. I know, and we'll move on to the feed as well here in a few minutes. And then we'll also talk food plots as well. I want to get into that. I know a lot of people have questions. So with your experience, what are you seeing using the Antler Builder Essentials, the minerals that we've been allowed to use for the last couple months when the feed ban has been, what's your experience?
Well, I'm kind of like you and tickled to death to be that way. I've had a lot more bucks than I normally have. I mean, I'm still getting some does and fawns, but my buck numbers this year have been really up and tickled to death from it. And of course, I had a farm that had never had a site on it before, so it was a fresh start in January, and my goodness, it has just been phenomenal. And so really look, I'm like everybody else. I'm looking for what's to come, but the use of the minerals it's such an easy way to do summer inventory. I mean, it really is. And so anytime that you can have that product out there and run a camera on, especially with the new feeding ban, I mean, the minerals like this, that we did talk with the state, and they did exempt the minerals from that ban. So that made it a go. And like I said, it's an easy way to do inventory and inexpensive, and it's good for your herd. I mean, the mineral that they have put, I'm gonna say those guys know the nutrition side backwards, forwards, and upside, one down the other. And so they put that part together, and then they allow me to test it and put it out and get it into people's hands. And it's just, everybody that I've talked to has been really pleased this year. So
yeah, we're seeing that evidence on our place.
Mike, don't want to interrupt you, but that's feedback I've been seeing. We cover Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and the customers that have been using the product, whether it's the food plot, the extreme, or the essentials, so the mineral. I mean, it's just been incredible. I mean, and I'm not a hunter. I'm not, but I do know forages. I do know food plots, and when I'm waking up when deer hunting season is going on, and I'm getting texts from guys texting me at 12:30 in the morning. Just from the results that they're seeing during deer season, it's just been so fun for me.
Yeah, that's really cool, and that's a neat aspect. Is you're helping people that really enjoy the aspect of hunting and using the products for hunting, and then to see the successes, or maybe somebody's super pumped because there's a buck on a trail camera that's just massive, and he's never seen it before because he's using the product. That's got to feel good,
It really does. Our background is more on cattle. That's where we have built our companies on and careers on. But when you start to see it in other areas that work, and it's been so much fun for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some good questions coming in. Jimmy's actually been sending me some deer pictures of his own here recently. He's starting to get a couple really nice bucks show up. Jimmy, those are awesome. I appreciate you sharing those with me. I now hope we can just get them to keep showing up for you, and maybe you can get on one of them suckers on opening day. That's awesome stuff. Philip Bitely says he saw a bunch of buck activity within the last couple weeks. Within the last week, and I think maybe we kind of talked about this, Kelly. The temperature kind of calmed down a little bit, and in that the heat index is going to come down a little bit, and that humidity. So I think deer are starting to move a little bit within that time frame.
Last night my cameras went crazy.
Oh, did they? Yeah, it wasn't cool outside last night, but it was much cooler than it had been.
Right.
So that moon's out as well. That big bright moon's out. So that probably helps a little bit of nighttime movement for sure. Brian Lay, he says, why are they doing the no feed ban until August? That's a great question, Brian. I think honestly, if you're able to come down to Hinton Mills and Plummer's Landing, I'm not sure where you're at, Brian, but we're going to have a panel at Plummer's Landing at the deer event from 8 to noon on Saturday, August 5th, which is this Saturday. Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife is going to be there, and there's going to be some questions asked during those panels about the feed ban. We want to learn a little bit more, and I think what's cool about that is in that forum they're going to be willing to share information at that time. So if that's something that you're able to make, I would highly encourage people to come and answer, ask questions, because they're going to be there willing to answer them. They're going to be transparent about those answers. And I'm really excited about it, just for the media side of it, the journalism side of it. I want to help get that information out. And because I think there are multiple reasons why the feed ban was put in place. And I'm looking forward to learning more about that myself. And we'll certainly share that once we're at the event on Saturday. I'm excited about it. My personal opinion on it, I think there is a lot of turkey related pieces of information that's coming into play there. You've got the anaphylaxins. I think there are increased studies, and we don't have to get into this topic because that's not what this is about. And we'll learn more about this Saturday. But I personally think there's more to this anaphylaxins type mold that grows on this feed that's on the ground during the heat of the summer. And if turkeys are eating that, it's enough toxin to get into that turkey that it's killing that turkey. And I think there's part of that is probably some of that. And hopefully we hear more about that on Saturday, but that's just a hunch. And I'm sure there's other reasons as well, but excited to learn more. And Kelly, Stacy, if you know more about that, as far as, some of the opportunities that people are going to have to ask questions in that manner, feel free to share right now. I think it's a good opportunity to talk about that.
No, I think you're going to go on Saturday. You'll see the head of the source. Rich Storm will be there from Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. He's the main man, and he's going to be there with some of his other guys. And if there's questions that you need or those questions that you want answers to, when the main person is there, that's the best time to ask the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's been a lot of people tore up about the feed ban, and everybody's speculating and got their own theories or minds made up. But I think in the end, if you listen to what Fish and Wildlife has to say and everything, I think they're probably going to bring out some good points that maybe that we haven't thought about or didn't even know about. To be honest with you, the anaphylaxins, I had no idea about those until 3 years ago, and it's becoming more and more prone. And there has been several areas that there has been some turkey populations that have really dropped. So hey, maybe if they're onto something and they can fix another problem, then I'm all in.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I geek out about this stuff. I really do. It's kind of weird, but when I start reading about studies and research and things of that nature, I really do. I geek out, and I want to share what I read about and hear about. I don't know if you both are familiar with the Wild Turkey Science podcast. phenomenal podcast. Absolutely love it. It's all biologists, and they bring information. They are bringing tons of information to the table. If you've not listened to it and you're interested, it's great listening. A lot of heavy stuff like that we just wouldn't think about. And we're just really quickly, some of the things that I like to share with people that I've heard, and I think it's really fascinating. We'll jump back to deer, but so there has been some studies in the South where people have had feeders up and hens will nest within 100 yards of those feeders. So what the biologists have done now, it takes away from the hen. So what they did was they set up fake nests in the areas within 100 yards of a feeder. And what they found was, now the one thing that it does take away is it takes away the aspect of that hen defending her nest. So that fake nest that doesn't have that defense, right? But what they found was in all of their studies, they found that the nest that was within 100 yards of a feeder was 80% more susceptible to nest rating over nests that were put outside of 100 yards of that feeder.
Wow.
The rating percentage dropped to 30% outside that 100-yard radius of the feeder. So, is that something that, as far as information is being shared amongst, biologists and science, was that a reason why we did it? Who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of good reasons, and I'm super excited to ask those questions. Guys, there's actually a really good question. Stacy, you can help us out with this as well. Philip said, how do you determine where to start a mineral site at? And since you just went through that on your place, Stacy, how did you decide where to put one?
I've seen, and I've been on lots of different farms over the years and had a lot of different locations. And what I'm going to do first is, number one, is I'm going to see where the deer are feeding at, where the deer are bedding at. I like to use, like me and you discussed at your place, I like to use a transitional area. I want to catch them going to and from their food source for the bigger part of the year, especially during the green summer months, because that's when the deer really crave. I mean, they really want those minerals, and they need those minerals because they're absorbing so much leafy matter and such, so that those minerals, they really start craving them at that time. So I like to get in a transition area between my bedding area and my food source and catch those deer. That way they can get their minerals as they come and go from their food source. But Mike, me and you also discussed, I'm very cautious on where I put my mineral sites and also feed sites. I don't want to put them in an area where they're going to congregate either while I am trying to get to or from a tree stand. So, I know a lot of people like to be able to sit there in their tree stand and watch these deer in these mineral sites and such, but I don't necessarily like to have them in a place that I'm planning. If I'm already in there and I'm looking at a place and think this is where I'm going to put a stand, I don't want to get that mineral site too close, because I want to be able to get to my stand. And deer especially, they're just like us. If it's hot outside, we're gonna find a shady place and find a good spot to rest through the day. So if he's already left that food source and he's stopped there for a while and got his mineral, then he's gonna find a place to lay down pretty quickly. And so I like to keep that area just a little away from where I plan on doing a tree stand setup, just to give me that little bit of an edge and a little extra chance to get in and out of the tree stand without him standing there watching me.
Yeah, that's great advice right there. That's perfect advice for anyone that's not started one or has thought about starting one. Maybe decide to put one in an area that you're not planning on putting in a tree stand. That way you don't bump those deer, put pressure on them. That's great advice. Something we're going to get into, Kelly, we'll talk more about the food plot stuff, and Gordy's jumping right in here. I love this question. So Gordy says, we've got areas of ash dying out in the woods. Can you broadcast something that can grow in semi-shaded areas to attract deer, something that grows? Kelly, you're a part of that Antler Builder seed and really, really knowledgeable with putting that seed stuff together, the products that you all carry with Antler Builder. What is something that Gordy could put down as far as Antler Builder that would do well in that shaded area?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at being able to put something like the fall winter food plot in that area, it would do great. It's got some wheat in it, it's got some clover in it, a clover that's really palatable. Not all clovers are the same, and you have to really look at a clover that the deer will like, because some clovers are more bitter than other clovers. And if you get and in the Antler Builder, we've been able to determine varieties that are actually, palatable to the animals, and that's what you want. You want something that the animals are going to be able to come in, consume, to use that for their energies and growth, and the varieties that we got in the fall winter mix. So something like that would be perfect for an area that's been cleaned out, kind of shady. Those varieties are designed to work for that.
That's awesome. And Stacy, with your expertise of putting in food plots and doing a lot of land management, what's something that you would suggest getting in there?
Well, what Kelly really said would have probably been my go-to.
Yeah.
And here is why. We're in the time of year where we're going to start see leaves starting to fade here before long. So I would go in with that fall mix for two reasons. Number one, that's going to get me something in there with the wheat and going, and there's some oats in it in that mix in there also.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There are.
So those are going to come up really quick and give you a green base right there real quick. What I like about that is then in the next spring, when the leaves are off, before those leaves come back real quick, those clovers are really going to take off. So next year, when that canopy comes back, then all of a sudden you've got a really nice stand of clover in that patch, and you're up and going for next year. This isn't just a blend that's going to be a 2 or 3 month thing. This is that fall mix is going to sustain you a clover patch for next year and be ready to go.
Yeah, and to what Stacy's saying, you really on a clover, you've got about a 3-year stand. So you could come in there and put that down this fall, and know that you're going to have some foliage there that's going to be there for at least 3 years, and you can do some other things at that point. But for 3 years, you'll have a pretty good, at least a clover stand.
That's awesome. And that's what you want, because that's a money saver, right? We all talk about different ways that we can save and kind of reuse what we're doing. That's a perfect thing to use.
Yeah. The most economical thing that you can do, whether it's cattle, deer, horses, whatever, is your forage plots. And, you can save more money by having a good variety of seed put down. And that's the thing, guys, with Antler Builder. Whether it's the feed, the mineral, or the food plots, we in fact are, just to be completely transparent, our food plot, we're still waiting for seed to come in. It's all new stuff. It's not going to be something that's been sitting in a warehouse for 6 months waiting for the fall, and it's going to be things that are ready to go when we need it, but the most freshest sources.
Yeah, that's terrific.
Another good point there too, also, Mike, what we were just discussing with this feed ban. This feed ban does not apply to food plots. So if you can go ahead and get one of those fall food plots established this year, you're up and going for next spring, and that food plot is going to hold that deer herd there. That gives them something to eat, something that they like. So the more you can hold that herd on your farm, and those deer become comfortable being there, and they've got something to eat year round where they're not running out of forage. That's a win every day.
I'm glad you said that. You and I talked about that on our farm down in Grant County when we were standing there doing some stuff. Food plots, if you're capable of doing them on your place, or if you have places where you might even have to start getting creative and start looking at your property and say, you know what, I don't have an area for this, but there is, kind of like Gordy in his case. There's a section of woods that has died off. Maybe you can go in there with a chainsaw, clearing things out. Maybe get 1/4 of an acre cleared out. Use some rakes. Use a weed eater. Use kind of a little bit of elbow grease. I've done it, and actually, it feels good to clear out a little spot like that in the middle of the woods or whatever, and get some stuff put out. So it might be a situation where you just can't get a tractor out there, or you can't do anything that's super huge, or even maybe you're leasing and you're not able to do things, but you're allowed to put stuff down. You can clear it with your hands, or those are the things to feed the deer when you're in a situation where there's a ban and you're not feeding them pellets or corn or whatever you may be feeding them. That's perfect. I'm glad you brought that up because that's great stuff.
Yeah.
I think as far as the minerals, Philip said, thanks, man. What kind of ground? Dry area covered with leaves. We kind of, just to describe, we're a lot of us are in clay, right? So pretty much the way that we started ours is we just went into that area and we probably, I don't know, cleared all the debris away, took a shovel and just popped all the dirt up and just kind of loosened that clay up a little bit. And then after that, we just kind of spread that minerals in there to let it kind of seep in, and we would refresh it every couple months. And all of a sudden, there's a giant hole in the ground 20 years later. So it's not too bad. You can pretty much start it anywhere. Find that transition area that you want to be at, or at least that area that you might not want to hunt, but deer are going to frequent. Just like Stacy was explaining. But you can just pretty much start one anywhere. Just kind of clear everything out, clear all the debris. If it's weedy, clear the weeds out. I don't know. What would you say, Stacy, about maybe half a car hood, wide or something like that to kind of clear out and then dump that minerals in there?
Yeah, and another point that me and you discussed while I was down there at your place, and the camera technology has gotten a lot better, but the end game, especially nowadays, we've all got a camera on the mineral licks doing our summer inventory and such. So
Yeah.
also, as you're doing that, as you're positioning your mineral licks, also look for either a fence post or a tree or something that's going to give you that vantage point. And I always like to have my cameras facing to the north. That way, you don't get that sun exposure from the sun during the early or to the middle part of the day, where you get so many of the what I call sun photos. But so I like to always find a tree, and I put my mineral lick to the north of that tree. That way, my camera's pointing to the north, and I don't get as many sun exposures.
Yeah, that's awesome advice, and that's something that actually last year. It's funny you say that. Last year, I put mine in an area where once the leaves fell, the sun was kind of shining through, and I got a lot of sunlight in that camera. So this year, I did a little bit better. Went back a little bit deeper into the woods with my camera this year. That way, because the one we're talking about is down that field edge. We were kind of right on that field edge, and that camera was kind of more toward the field edge, and it was. I did not position that well. So positioning is key. I like that. That's good to bring up. Philip said, so if I'm near a creek bottom and for some reason the creek floods, would that wash away my minerals in the ground at the site? That's a good question.
It does, but there will be some residual stay there, and in this exact case, behind my parents' house, they live on Fleming Creek right here in Fleming County, and that creek bottom floods 5 or 6 times a year. But my dad's mineral lick is literally at the top of the creek bank, so they can watch it out the back door of their house, and he freshens it up probably a little more often than what most people probably. I like refreshing mine about every 45 to 60 days. Dad probably has to, especially through the early spring when its water is up quite a bit. He'll refreshen his up every 30 days. But, it doesn't seem to hurt it. I mean, they've got a spot down there as big as a Volkswagen, and they just wear it out. So I'm going to say that it's, the water getting in it probably doesn't help it any, but it doesn't seem to hurt it either. So.
Yeah. I've even had the one that we have. That's a pretty good size area, kind of like you were discussing. That's not near a creek; it's up on top of a ridge. But a lot of times during the years where we do get a lot of rain, it does flood into that hole, and it actually holds water. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. I find it actually richens the mineral lick. So. While Philip, you might have to refresh yours often if it gets a lot of water and it's just washing all that out. It almost, if you keep it kind of like Stacy's dad, if you just refreshing it a little bit more than probably normal, that's actually probably going to heighten it a little bit and kind of make that dirt even richer. So I think that's actually a good opportunity to start a really good mineral site because of that richer dirt, and those deer will be pawing and digging at that. The more you keep that minerals in. That's a good question, though. I've not really seen that question before. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I would use that also. I would say, if I'll relate to the livestock on the cattle side of it, and when wintertime, when we have ice on the road and the salt trucks come through, we run about 500 mama cows out here on our farm, and we have a huge salt lick from the cows who use where the salt trucks come through and plow the salt along the road while there's rain and whatnot that washes it away, but that residual salt still stays in the ground. And those cows will continually lick that ground. I've got a hole as big as a Volkswagen or whatever you want to call it, to where they come through and they still lick that. So what Stacy was saying is exactly right, whether it's cattle or deer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's great about it. I mean, Hinton Mills, Antler Builder, that's what you all specialize in, animal nutrition. And, to the thing that I get excited about, especially when you see the results of that, which is the deer using it heavily. And then you see your antler growth, you see healthy does, you see healthy fawns. It all goes into that ideal of you want your herd to be healthy. And when you can prove it by the materials and the ingredients that go into the product, that's what pumps you up, is you're giving your deer good stuff. It's not stuff that's going to be, hey, we're just throwing stuff at it just to attract your deer, right?
Yeah, we're not just putting stuff in a fancy bag and saying, hey, come buy it. It's years, whether it be Hinton Mills and their 100 years, or us in our 40 years, or Berkman and their time in the business. It's it's stuff that works, and we're excited to be able to offer these products to consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about it, and I've really enjoyed using Antler Builder, and I've found that it's increased our deer activity, and it's also helped the herd. Yeah, so I've had great experiences with it, and Stacy, I know you have, because you're a big time user of Antler Builder, and I'd like to speak more. I'd like to get you to comment more on the things that you use it for. But Philip actually said, we'll just revisit this again. Philip, did mineral-cides count as feeding? Was it banned? So early in the spring, what did happen is there was an accidental misprint that included the ban. It included salt and minerals in the ban, but the Fish and Wildlife came back, said that was a mistake. It was an accident. They rewrote that rule, and this summer, minerals, as long as it wasn't included, like, because there are some things out there that are mixed with corn. Some minerals are mixed with corn and a little bit of grain feed or whatever. Sometimes they're mixed. As long as it's not mixed with that, if it's straight mineral, straight salt, that was okay to use throughout the summer. That they okayed that, and we made sure to make sure that came out earlier in the year. We posted about that on Facebook once the department came out and said that was a misprint. So luckily, it's been fascinating though, guys. And I don't where you're coming from. I don't know if you had a lot of people, especially Kelly with Antler Builder. If you had people reach out and say, "Hey, is this okay?" I'm confused. I've been seeing a lot on Facebook recently that people didn't even know there was a ban.
Oh no.
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
So I don't know where those specific people were, because it was talked about everywhere pretty much. But I've been seeing it recently. There was a ban. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
Yes, there was. So I'm not sure. Have you gotten a lot of questions about that? I'm just curious.
Absolutely, yeah. And my day-to-day operations is working with different farm supply stores throughout the state, and the Fish and Wildlife Department has done a pretty good job of trying to get into the stores and educate them, but that hasn't really done a very good job of educating all the end users out there. So yeah, we've gotten numerous people who have asked me about, hey, what's this all about, and didn't really realize that there was a ban going on. So, but yeah, I've seen that firsthand.
That's it's one of those things where you just kind of, I don't know. I'm not really sure why there were some people that still didn't know about it, but luckily it's lifted now. We're good. We're a go.
Things good.
So Kelly, with the Antler Builder feed, so we've got the Extreme, and we've got the Block, and we've got the molasses.
Yep.
Kind of take us through some of the I guess, like, ingredients that go into the deer herd that are in each of those products, and why we should kick off with Antler Builder as this ban is lifted.
Yeah. So what you've got in the Extreme product, which is the feed product, it's a complete feed that has been designed nutritionally for growth of the animal. It's a completely feed that is a complete supplement to whatever they would need. It's not just a distiller grain with an attractant in it. It does have an attractant in it that is extremely strong. In fact, last year, while during the event we had a year ago, we were mixing up some fresh Antler Builder Extreme, and deers were coming out of the woods. And if anybody's ever been to Plumber's Landing, Kentucky, I mean, it's just a beautiful sight. And as the feed was being mixed, the deer were actually coming down. So it's a really strong attractant. And then in the block, so what the idea with the block was to, not everyone wants to take a 50-pound bag of feed out to a site where they're not for sure what's there. So we took the same ingredients in the feed and put that in a block so that you could take that out there, see what's there, put your camera up, see if you get any activity on it. If not, you can move it to another spot. It's a 20-pound block, easy to carry. And then on the molasses, it's just a way to attract more activity to an area that you're looking to go to.
Another thing on the Extreme that, from my standpoint, that I think plays into a very big part is there's actually an additive in the Extreme that is used as it's a natural product that the animals can absorb. It's a mixture of oils that makes those animals more resistant to ticks and some of the nymphs and stuff that carry some of these disease. And that, I think, the more of that product you can get in your herd, it's going to, anytime that you don't have a parasite feeding on that animal, you're number one, you're going to increase the animal's health, you're going to increase his body weight. And I'll tell you, that's been a big selling point. When we first started looking at the product and they're like, hey, try this, what do you think about it? And this, that, and the other. Because where I got out in Kansas, I'm telling you what, the ticks and the chiggers out there, they'll carry you to the top of the mountain and eat you for lunch. So I mean, that was a very important part once we started using that. And I'll be honest with you, those guys out there, they just love it. I mean,
yeah, Stacy, that product's called Senegar, and again, it goes back to our livestock background on it, and it's basically a cinnamon garlic product, and the cinnamon actually helps give more. It allows the blood flow to the blood vessels to constrict, so they're not as hot. And then you've got the garlic product that is a natural fly or insect repellent, whether it be flies, ticks, or whatnot. And when I've talked to guys who have actually, harvested these animals and then they've done the taxidermy work on it, the hide it's more intact. There's not as many damage to the hides, and it's just been amazing to me. And we've used this product on our own cattle operation for years, and been able to see the results. When you look at daytime, if you go around and drive around the areas, you'll see cows when it's hot, they'll be under shade, they'll be in a pond. If you relate that to deer, they're going to be not active, they're going to be in the woods, they're going to be deep in the woods, they're going to be looking to cooling down. Whereas if they're on the Antler Builder Extreme product and they're actually consuming that product, your activity during the daytime on your trail cams or whatnot, you're going to see more activity. It's really a good product, and we've just thought that was a way to incorporate that into the feed to be able to see some results on that.
That's absolutely right. That's great to know, because it's I'm guessing, and it's just because I don't know, I'm guessing most products probably don't have that feature to where it's it's helping out a little bit, right? So that's good stuff. That's people don't really think about that. When you're thinking about, just most guys are probably just out there like, hey, I'm just going to get this so I can attract this deer so it comes into my camera or whatever. You're doing a lot for your deer by using Antler Builder. You really are. So I'm glad you shared that, because that's really cool stuff. It's an aspect that sometimes we forget about, and it's good. It's good to know. It's really, really good to know.
The good thing about that product, uh, it doesn't matter if you're a weekend warrior that's going to hunt one weekend a year, or if you're a guy that lives it, eats it, breathes it all year. The product will give you the best of both worlds. If you're going to use that product all year long, your animals are going to get the benefit of absorbing all the nutrients they need to get them to the maximum that that animal can be, for the genetic pool that it comes from. But if you're a guy that's going to get out, and take his kids out and wants to, help his spot a little bit, the attractant side of the extreme is, I'm telling you, I've put it in fresh spots before. 5 hours later, I mean, you got deer standing there at their head and they've never seen the product before in their life. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's a long-term use or, like I said, for the weekend warrior that's going to put it out. There's enough of everything in that product that it's going to work for you.
Yeah. Glad you touched on that too, because it really is. They come into it and it doesn't take long. It really doesn't, because Stacy, just like you, you put it out and your camera's going off, not too long after you've put it out. And the aroma of the Antler Builder, the Essentials and the Extreme is phenomenal. Those deer are picking that up and coming in and
I've literally had guys call me and tell me that their neighbors have asked them to quit feeding the product because the cows are coming through the fence row to get to the product. And so, I mean, the attractant is just unbelievable.
Wow. Oh, there's nothing worse than putting a bow hunter in a tree standing in the middle of Kansas in the dark, and then him calling you 2 hours later and saying, I got 300 head of Angus standing underneath of me.
I guarantee you that's probably not the most pleasant experience, right? You get a little bit noisy.
No, that's
right?
a phone call you don't want that day.
No, I'd imagine not. That's funny. Philip says, what does it mean if you have a lot of ticks in your woods that you're hunting? Can it be an issue if you have a lot of ticks on your property? What would it affect? That's a great question. Just in my own experience, when ticks are infesting your deer, one, that's taking all the nutrients out of that deer, because there's probably tens and thousands of ticks. When you have a real bad case, tens and thousands of ticks and eggs that are on that deer, it's going to suck all the nutrients out of that deer. So if you're in the summer, that's probably taken away from your antler growth, right? It's probably taken away, a doe already goes through a lot through fawning, whether it be 2 or 3 fawns or even just one. She's having to take care of that fawn, and all her nutrients is going to that fawn by having to produce milk and protect that fawn. So naturally, if you've got an infestation like that and it's affecting your deer herd, it's just pulling nutrients down, and it's probably going to weaken your antler growth, as far as like the bucks on your property, and just, it's going to affect your overall health if you have a bad case of them. I've never personally seen a situation where, you've had deer after deer after deer after deer have that problem. Some have, just in the deer that we've seen, Stacy, you can kind of point to some of the deer that you see a lot of deer, especially in different states. So that's kind of big. You can talk to that point. But some of the stuff that we'll see one deer that's just like badly, maybe one deer comes through a camera and it's just got ticks all over its eyes and face, and it's rough looking. It's bad. So it can certainly affect it. What are your experiences with ticks?
Like I said, out west they are horrible, and I've seen that. We actually had a picture that was passing around here in Kentucky here a couple of weeks ago by a gentleman of a deer. He's like, I can't believe this, how many ticks are on this deer. So it is a problem. That is one thing that is kind of. We've got one customer who's actually helped us through the testing of the extreme through the last couple 2 or 3 years, and feeds a lot of it. So when the feed ban come on, he was a little bit disheartened. He lives it, eats it, breathes it 365 days a year. He's been on our panels in the past when we've had discussions. He harvested a deer that he didn't want a whole lot of people to know about last year. There was a 3.5-year-old that went right at 200 inches. Here was the significant thing. He fed extreme all year long. He harvested that deer in late September. There was not one tick on that deer. And so
Wow.
he contributed a lot of that to the product. Out west, I mean, even the deer flies become an nuisance. I mean, I've seen deer enter a soybean field in the afternoon. It's a little bit cooler, but the deer flies get on them so bad that the deer just take off and run in a dead run just to get away from from deer flies. So
Wow.
parasites are a big deal, and then there's times I've noticed it worse out west, but it's starting to become an issue here. I mean, so it is an issue. It is a problem, and the more that we can do, if we're serious about the farms that we either own or lease, if we're serious about keeping our deer herd where we want it to be, I mean, that's something I think that everybody needs to consider.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I mean, 100%. Kelly, we've got some good questions coming in. A couple people have started asking where can they get the Extreme around Cynthiana. Aaron and Lisa Sharp were asking where can I get Extreme around the Cynthiana, Kentucky area. And another person said what company sells Antler Builder. So if you could just kind of speak to that and
Sure.
maybe help people find places we can get it.
Yeah, in Cynthiana, for sure, you could go to Hinton Mills. They have a location downtown that you'd be able to pick it up at, and really any farm supply dealership in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee. Those guys should be able to go into any farm supply store and their local independent stores and just ask for the product, and we could deliver it to them on a weekly basis. And then and to what Stacey was saying, on the back to the ticks and the on livestock, on cattle, horn flies, deer ticks, fly ticks, or flies and ticks. That could be a 10 to 15% body weight reduction annually. So anytime that you can save that animal from having that fleas or ticks on, or flies and ticks on them, you'll be able to see some weight gain there.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine just all those pests, if you will, just put so much stress on the animal.
Yep.
Fact is, with this being Eastern Outdoors Media, I don't know. I've never been to Maine or anywhere up in the high Northeast there, but there are places they've done recent studies where they have found that moose calves have been dropping dead up in the Northeast. And what they have found is it's just they're collared calves, and they follow them around. And from what they find is when that calf dies, they see it stop and they go, before something eats that calf, they want to go in and find out what's going on. They have found that infestations are getting those moose calves up there. It's so the tick, and it's ticks. It's not, they were specific in the study. They would go and just tens and thousands, hundreds of thousands of ticks were on these moose calves, and it was killing them. It was depleting everything that they had, and it just was killing them. So, I mean, it is becoming more of a problem. Stacey, you and I had some ticks on us out there on my uncle's place. So, I mean, I know that it's helping our deer more than likely to have the Antler Builder out there. And we're going to be kicking, as this ban is lifted, we're going to get some Essentials and Extreme back out pretty much immediately as soon as we can. And so I know we're going to be helping our deer herd for sure. And it's a thing. There's more I feel like, and this maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember as many ticks as there used to be when I was a kid. I didn't worry about as much, but now you step off the back porch and you got one. There's just more of them.
Yeah. Kelly, back to the question that the gentleman had. I know we discussed it in one of our little meetings or whatever. Do you know, have we come up with a dealer locator for the Antler Builder site yet?
So if you can go to centralfarmky.com and choose the dealer locator there, any of those customers would have access, and a lot of them already have the inventory in stock. But that would be the best way to find exactly where the product is. centralfarmky.com.
Perfect. That's great. And I'm excited. Kelly, whenever that list comes out or anything and you want us to share it, we'll be glad to.
Yeah, we can get you a list, Mike, for sure on who's got the product in stock, and if you want to share that out to your group, that'd be awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely, we can. So Scott Butler says, "How come John Stepp got fleas bad, but yet he still gains weight?" Man, Scott, he's not on here to even defend himself.
Oh man,
Hey, Scott, he'll be back on here in about 5 to 10 minutes. So you'll have to get him here when he comes back on. He's fishing for sharks right now. So
If he doesn't go
he's not
back to watch that one.
Him and Scott have some fun. He knows that Scott's playing with him. They jab at each other all the time. So we appreciate Scott being on here messing with us. So a Facebook user, apologize, I can't see. He will see it. He's laughing. So a Facebook user, sorry we can't see your name on the side. You're probably watching from the Facebook group, Kentucky Outdoors. They jumped on late. Want to hear more about what the Extreme product is. So the Antler Builder Extreme. If you would just describe that for us really in short, Kelly, I think it would help some of the listeners.
Yeah, it's just it's a full feed that's designed to to supplement. It's not really a supplement. It's actually a full feed for the animals. It's designed with corn, sunflower, roasted soybeans. It's 18% protein. It's full ingredients. It's not just a foo dust or a carrier, distiller grain carrier with an attractant in it. It's actually a feed. It's got the Senegar product in it to help with the flies and the ticks problem. So that's really what it is.
And Mike, I will touch on this. The product speaks for itself, but where you have such a high protein level, my cousin is a veterinarian and he's a deer hunting fanatic, and me and him have kind of experimented with this and touched on it. Sometimes if you introduce something that high in protein, all of a sudden they'll come to it and they'll really crank up on it. What they'll do is they'll just eat so much of it because of the attractant side, and they feel like they need it. And then what it kind of does is the high protein, it'll kind of burn them out for a day or two. So then you'll see a large influx on your cameras, and then you'll see it taper down, and then they'll eventually see that come back. So if you've never used a product, I really highly recommend right off the bat to mix in one bag of the Extreme to at least a couple bags of shell corn, and then I always do that right off the start. And then as I get further into the season, or especially into the wintertime when those deer really need a lot more protein, especially like in that December and January when I'm still feeding my herd to get my does ramped up for what they've got coming on and get the bucks built back up from the rut, then at that point, there's a lot of times I'll feed it full force. But in this early season where especially deer that haven't been exposed to it for a while, I'm going to cut that with at least a couple bags of shell to get that deer's system used to it and everything. And then later on, like I said, I'll run it more to the 100% side versus blending it.
Excellent. That's great advice. Great advice. That's something that I wouldn't have thought about. So I thank you for sharing that. That's good information for people to have, and something good to implement on everybody's place if you plan to put some out. Kelly, with the food plot seed, you have a turnip and radish Antler Builder, turnips and radishes. What I'd like for you to speak to those and what those do for the deer, and what are good times to plant those for people in Kentucky and in the surrounding areas.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. The turnips and radishes, it's kind of a double whammy is the way I describe it, because you get the initial forage of the plant growth, right? And then when things go dormant, then you've got the actual radish and the turnips to provide energy and nutrition during the winter months. Everyone gets excited. We're all excited to get out, but typically the best time to plant those aren't like now, because we have the heat. We've got the dry weather of August, and you want to try to start around the end of August, the 1st of September up through October. That's actually the best time to put those in the ground to get the full benefit of it. If you start too early, those seeds are just going to lay in the soil and they're not going to do much. They're just going to lay dormant. But really, you want to start about the middle of August would be the earliest that I would suggest putting any of the fall seeds in the ground. And then once they're in the ground, then they're going to come up. You're going to get the forage of the growth of the tops of the radishes and the turnips, and then like as I said, then as those grow, the deer are going to come in and they're going to root those up to get the turnips and the radishes out.
That's perfect. I've got a couple spots picked out on our place. We're going to put some out here in a couple weeks. Wait till that September time, and I'm looking forward to getting that stuff out. Because Stacy, I want to talk about some of the things you shared with the spring and summer forage that we planted. It's doing well. It's real thick and tall right now is what my uncle was telling me. So I'm sure it's providing good cover and good forage, which I'm really excited about. We've actually got a camera not too far away from. We don't have one in there because of where that's at. I don't really have any stakes or anything to put it right next to there, but there's kind of that tree line, and we've got some deer coming in and out of there for sure, which is exciting. But so I kind of wanted to. You taught me something with that is like when we start getting to the point where that stuff dies off and we want to go into a fall plot, kind of explain some of the things that you shared with me as far as ideas for people that they can do with some of their own properties.
Well, one of the things that I'd made a practice on one of the farms that I actually own, uh, and I think I discussed it with you because you get that one hillside it had a little bit of a slope to it, and so once that summer plot gets established, it gets really good and thick. Now it's going to start dying down, but it produces a really thick cover. The turkeys love it, the deer love it. So one of the things that I always did is I would just leave my summer plot, and I would actually do strips. I would do alternating strips, and I would go right through the middle of my summer plot. I would bush hog it down to make it easier, and then I would come back through with my tiller, and I would leave a spot. It doesn't matter if it's 15 foot wide or 15 yards wide, and then go to a fall plot, put that in, then leave another strip. And then what I found that done is it gave those animals cover, and those deer would never leave the plot. They would literally they would come in there in the fall, and they would eat there in the what was coming up for the fall plot, and then they never did go to bed anyplace else. They would walk 5 steps and get into where that summer plot had become just a really thick area for them to bed in, and they would bed right there. And I mean, those deer stayed in the plot 24 hours a day, just about. I mean, it made it a little hard sometimes to get into the tree stand because the deer never left the food source. But what you can also do with that is also leave the outside edge, what I call a buffered edge. Leave that from that summer plot. Leave that on your outside edge where you're entering from, and plant your green on the inside. And the taller stuff from the summer plot gives you a little bit of a way to slip in there a little easier with a little extra cover. So,
Yeah.
that was that. And plus, anytime that you can hold that soil there and hold all your nutrients there, I've always been a big fan of another thing that I like doing too, that I think me and you discussed. If I've got a tree that works just right for a stand with a right wind, I like to, if I can get my plot up and good and thick, simply mow a trail. Deer are just like us. Deer don't like to walk in wet, tall grass. They don't like that. They don't like to get real wet in the morning dew. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but if you watch them, they'll walk through there, and then as soon as they get to a spot where they jump a fence and there's not tall grass, they shake that dew off and they feel a lot better. So I'll take a summer plot and I'll actually mow a strip right straight through the middle of through that summer plot, right past the tree, considering where my prevailing wind is going to be, and those deer will turn that into their highway.
Yeah.
We do that a lot out west in CRP, and I'm telling you what, you put a guy in there and tell him get ready, because he'll see 100 deer a day. They use it just like a highway.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Something, this is kind of an interesting question, and I am no biologist or scientist, and you being in the business that you both are in and being around it more, as just far as like, feeding animals, how much protein is actually absorbed into a deer system and how much passes through. Scott said it really doesn't matter if they're feeding on a daily, but just curious, just from your experience in feeding animals in general, how much do you think they're actually absorbing and just passing through?
I'll let you touch on it first, Kelly, and then I'll chime in on the backside.
Well, I mean, again, we take these rations and we look at what the daily requirements are of the livestock, right? And so once you have what the animal actually needs to survive and to sustain itself, that's where we start at. So typically, that's where the 18% comes in, protein, and animals are pretty much like us. They're going to consume what they need, and they're not going to consume more than they need typically. And so, I'm not a nutritionist myself, so I can't tell you for sure how much is passed through versus what they need. But from a scientific standpoint, and from what the nutritionists do tell us, that is that the 18% is the level that is required to sustain themselves.
That's awesome.
On that
Jeff,
on that note, I've tested a lot of products in the past, and I've had a lot of guys come to me and they're like, "Man, we bought this stuff cheap, but the deer won't eat it." Deer that I've seen and the deer that I've fed, once you get above that 21 to 22% protein level, for some reason or other, I don't know if it's they can't handle it as well, but they won't eat it.
Well, that's what I say, Stacey. That's why I say that you look at it from a perspective. They're going to eat what they need, and then they're going to stop, right? So if you get too high of a level, then they're not going to consume it because they don't need it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Grisby said, "What would be a good food plot for early bow season?" I think the fall and winter mix is something we can plant for Antler Builder, and again, we just kind of spoke about the turnips and radishes. I like to implement that stuff as well. I know a lot of people like winter wheat or oats, which that fall and winter forage has that in it, plus other things like we talked about, the clovers and things of that nature. That's going to come back in the spring.
Yeah, it's going to have some wheat, some peas, some rapeseed, some turnips. I mean, it's a good variety of everything that's going to come up, be successful for that time of year.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, I'm excited about the event Saturday. Looking forward to seeing both of you there, and excited to be on the panel, and looking forward to chatting with people, and hopefully get some fun answers and some things that we can all talk about. And what I'm excited about is just seeing the folks from the department. I got to see them at the elk event a couple months ago, so it'll be an opportunity to see them again and visit and chat about deer. I'm looking forward to kickoff.
Yeah, I pulled in my subdivision tonight and seen one of my neighbors out shooting his bow. So want to remind everybody, we got the one-shot archery tournament for the local kids archery here at the high school. So bring their bows out, and they can enter in the little one-shot archery, and it goes to a good cause. And last year we had some guys, and I'm telling you what, it got really competitive over there. They were having a big time with that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to go take some footage over there. I'm going to go video and mingle with the folks that are over there shooting. I believe, Stacey, is it a 50-yard single shot?
We leave it up to the lady that runs it. We've been letting. I think last year she done a 20-yard for the kids and 50 yards for the grown-ups.
Okay.
And the event's growing daily. I reckon you would say we had a guy reach out to us today that's starting a new business in the deer recovery line. So he reached out and sent us another prize package today to give away for a door prize. So there's lots of door prizes. It's going to be a good event. It runs from 8 to 12 at the Plumbers Landing, which is at 591 Plumbers Landing. That's in Plumbers Landing, Kentucky. And it's a beautiful place. Weather looks fairly good from this point. So, and which our event's going to be inside, other than the archery part will be outside, but there'll be a lot of good information, a lot of good people, and a good event.
I think we got over 50 door prizes, don't we, Stacey?
Yeah.
Wow. So people need to get in here and get into that archery tournament.
Right. Sure. Yeah. We'll have plenty of Antler Builder on hand. So, like I said, the ban is lifted, and there'll be plenty of us standing around to talk to, and we'll give you the information that we know, or that we can try to help you answer your questions and get you loaded up, and that way you can go out Saturday afternoon, head to your deer farm, and get it rocking and rolling.
Awesome. I'm excited, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing you and visiting down there at Hinton Mills and Plumbers Landing, and just really looking forward to hanging out.
Good deal.
Well, I wish you guys a good evening. Thanks so much for spending time with us. I'll probably stay on here. I don't want to keep you on any longer. I gave John a text to see where he's at. He's the guy that's got to pop back on here and shut things down. So I'll let you guys go. I'll hang here and chat with folks on that are still with us. But I appreciate your time and excited to see you all Saturday.
All right.
All
See
right,
you then,
Mike.
buddy.
Thanks,
you, all.
buddy.
Thank
bet.
you.
Bye.
So there we go. Little ant, little builder. And it looks like we had some infiltration here. We'll have to clean that up here in a little bit. James, yeah, you got to get your bow re-strung. You definitely got to get that done, man. Philip, thanks for joining us, bud. Appreciate y'all joining us. Scott, I appreciate you staying on here, man. I'm not real sure where he's at. He's probably catching a shark right now. He's down on the beach. He came on with us live early, but said they were getting ready to go. They were getting ready to go shark fishing. Gordy, the bags, they're probably I don't know, 20 pounds ish, maybe 25 pounds. They're kind of heavy. A lot of times when I'm going to a stand or when I'm just going into an area, if I'm actually going to be hunting that day and I don't want to be carrying a huge bag with me, I'll take a small like grocery bag of it and put it in my pack. When I get there, I just dump it out. So that's kind of how I do it. Sometimes I'll put it in a smaller bag and just carry it in my backpack. But if you've got time to kind of prep your area before you go hunting, if you got something that you can, like a 4-wheeler or a side-by-side that helps you take stuff out there, you can just ride up there and dump it where you need to dump it. And hopefully they pick it up, and they will quick. Cause I know we've had a lot of success using it. Deer just come right to it. And when we get our cameras and stuff, I'm actually getting ready to get a cell camera here real soon. So I'm looking forward to putting that out specifically now that we can start feeding and kind of getting more inventory as the season comes down to come to opening day here. But it's pack only. I got you. Yeah, it's that's what I do. I just put it in like small grocery bags, and just to where I know it's not a situation where it's going to weigh me down or I'm going to sweat my butt off trying to carry it out there. I have before, like I've carried my bow and a bag of that stuff before, but it is a little complicated when you're not doing it, when you're not going out there beforehand, putting it in a feeder or something like that. But my rescue driver course is same day as squirrel tournament. Rats. Dang. Maybe next time, James, we try to have at least 2 a year. We might have one late winter. It's not as fun in my opinion because the hickory nuts are not there anymore late season, but it should be fun. Hopefully maybe something will get changed around for you and you'll be able to join us. But we do have a squirrel tournament. I believe let me check my calendar here. August 19th, opening weekend of squirrel. So we got a couple more weeks. Get signed up for that. Having a big squirrel tournament. We're going to have prizes and stuff. No entry fee. You just go sign up and have some fun. Get a teammate together. Visit our Facebook page. Take a look at, you'll have to go down a couple posts probably, and you'll see that there's a sign up sheet to where you can get signed up for that. And you can pretty much hunt anywhere. Just follow Kentucky laws and rules, regulations for squirrel season or the fall seasons, and weaponry and the bag limits and things of that nature, which is 6 per person. James, we need to get together, man. I mean, we pretty much will probably. I don't know. I haven't talked to John yet, but he and I will probably get together and squirrel hunt. We won't participate in the tournament, but we're going to get together potentially at a local WMA or something like that and just walk around and see if we can't get a few squirrels just to hang out together. And then we typically sit together, and we actually typically go out to eat afterwards. And then we kind of look through all the messages and posts of people sending us squirrels and measurements and that stuff. And that's kind of where we we sit down, drink coffee, or I drink coffee. I don't think he does, but we'll sit down and just kind of work that stuff out and kind of hang out, use that opportunity to hang out, since he and I don't really get to see each other very much. And I don't get to see Josh or John Allen there very often either. So, but it's a good opportunity to kind of get together. I'm hoping some of the guys can get together as well. Maybe you can join us when we do end up going out some other time. I'm just sitting here waiting on John to get back on here. I don't know if he's reeling in a shark or what, but I appreciate anyone who is staying on here. I can't see how many are still watching or who's still on, but I'm trying to hang on here until he's able to shut the live down. We just don't want to exit and it still be on live while we leave. But hopefully he'll be able to pop in here any minute, and we'll see what happens. But I know he was down on the beach. Hopefully his phone didn't die. Sean may be the shark bait. I hope not. I know they were fishing down there, caught several stingrays, and I think they were using a stingray for shark bait. He did mention something about his phone phone dying, so I'm hoping that didn't happen. Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting on this live for like ever. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to have to get on him, man. He's still shark fishing, Kelly. Yeah, probably. Scott, John left you high and dry. He's eating. Yeah, maybe he did. Maybe they went out to eat afterwards. I don't know. Maybe they said heck with the fishing and just went to go get something to eat. Which is probably what I would do, because if I'm not catching anything, it's like, let's go somewhere else. Yeah, it better be a good one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like all they're catching is stingrays. They've caught a ton of stingrays down there so far. I'm not even sure I've seen a fish, just the stingrays. But I'm looking forward to, I'm myself looking forward to doing some fall food plots and things of that nature. Move the camera around here. I'm looking forward to getting some food plots out and getting some feed out, some antler builder out. And I'm excited about more intel, just more information about the deer that we have around and that are hanging around our place. That's a big reason why we use the product, is just to help us learn, what kind of bucks we have and get that information and then just overall health herd. We like to use it to attract them to our cameras and that way we get information about our property. It helps us with deer management specifically. I mean, if we know a certain buck, if we see a certain buck multiple times, there he is.
Hey, I was in
I am literally sitting here on a reel, just like yapping, trying to wait for you.
My bad. All right. Have a good night. We'll see you next week. How about that?
Yeah. Hey, enjoy vacation, man.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
See y'all.